Alright. So this is something I didn't expect to say this soon. If you're a Sony fan, this might actually be good news. Because it looks like the next Xperia flagship, the Xperia 1 Mark VIII, could be arriving sooner than expected. Now here's what happened. A new Sony device recently showed up in FCC listings for testing. And just to be clear, that doesn't automatically mean a full US launch is happening. This is mostly for compliance, so the device can technically work on networks here. But still, it confirms one important thing. The phone exists, and it's getting closer. Now that matters, because for the past few years, there's been this ongoing conversation around Sony smartphones. A lot of people have been saying, this might be the last Xperia. We hear it almost every year. But clearly Sony isn't done yet. And this time, things might actually be different. Because for the first time in a long time, we're starting to see signs of a real change. We've already seen some early leaks, and based on those renders, Sony might finally be redesigning the phone. And if you've followed Xperia devices, you'll know they've looked very similar for years now. That same vertical camera layout, that same minimal design language. It's clean, but it hasn't really evolved much. But now, it looks like the camera module is finally getting a major redesign, and that alone is a big deal, because the camera system has been one of the areas where Sony has started to fall behind. Not in terms of hardware capability, but in overall output compared to competitors. And this is where things get interesting. There are strong rumors suggesting that Sony could be introducing a 200-megapixel sensor. Now, of course, nothing is confirmed yet. But if that turns out to be true, that would be one of the biggest upgrades we've seen from Sony in years. Because right now, most flagship phones are pushing boundaries in camera tech. And Sony, despite being a leader in camera sensors, has been surprisingly conservative with its own phones. So this could finally be that turning point. Now beyond the camera, there are also rumors about a shift back to Sony's classic design philosophy. Specifically, the return of the 21:9 aspect ratio. And if that happens, there's a strong chance we might also see the return of the 4K display, which, if you remember, used to be a signature Xperia feature. And not just for marketing. It actually delivered a very unique experience. Watching movies, viewing high-resolution content, everything felt more cinematic. And when Sony moved away from that, a lot of users weren't exactly happy. So bringing that back, that would definitely be a win. Now, at the same time, Sony has already been doing a lot of things right. The stereo speakers on Xperia devices are still among the best. Front-facing, balanced, and loud. Battery life? Also surprisingly strong. Last year's model was easily a 2-day phone for most people, which is something you don't see often in flagship devices. And then there are the features that Sony just refuses to remove. Things like the headphone jack, the microSD card slot, and the physical shutter button. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why Xperia phones still have a loyal audience. Because while most brands are removing features, Sony is holding on to them. And for a certain group of users, that matters a lot. Now let's talk performance. We're expecting this phone to be powered by the next-gen Snapdragon chip. And in the past, Sony has had some issues with thermal performance. Generations. They've improved a lot. Recent Xperia devices have been much more stable, with better heat management. So expectations here are actually pretty solid. Now pricing. This is where things get tricky. Sony phones have never been cheap. They've always positioned themselves as premium devices, and that's fine, but it also limits their reach. Now, one thing Sony usually does well is pre-order bundles. They often include high-end accessories, like premium headphones, which does add value. But still, if Sony manages to make this phone even slightly more affordable, that could make a huge difference. Because right now, competition is stronger than ever, so pricing will matter. A lot. At the end of the day, this feels like a really important moment for Sony. A potential redesign, a major camera upgrade, possible return of key features. There's a lot riding on this phone. And if Sony gets it right, this could easily become one of the most interesting Xperia devices we've seen in years. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. But I'm curious, what about you? Are you still interested in Sony smartphones, or have you already moved on? Bomb. And P above.